If you have a classic vehicle that uses a 5 3/4 inch round headlight, you've probably gone online and realized that there's about 1 million of them. It's really hard to narrow down your search to something that's actually good to put on your vehicle. So I'm going to review 2 good products. I got a classic option. It's a Holley RetroBright. This is going to be for your classic trucks. But then you've got something that's a little more modern. This right here, which is the Morimoto Sealed6. So let's first talk about why you would even want to upgrade this. First off, obviously, it's not bright at all. We're going to talk about the light output in a little bit, but it's not bright. It is on your classic vehicle, but this is also very outdated technology, and that's why Morimoto has really packed a punch in their Sealed6 that I want to show you on the wall also. This right here has this dingy orange color, but maybe you want that dingy orange color. If you did, maybe the Holley RetroBrights are the right lights for you. Let's first dive into the Holley RetroBrights, and then we'll discuss the benefits of the Sealed6 from Morimoto. Then we'll show you on the wall what it looks like. Now, you've seen the Holley RetroBrights on our channel before, so I'm going to breeze through it. There are 2 different colors, so if you want to retain the period correct look of your stock Sylvania headlights on maybe your classic truck, these do a really good job of that. You can get it in a 3000K color, 3000 Kelvin. That's just referring to the color temperature of the light output. The 3000K color looks like this. It's got that warm white that matches your stock lighting. So nobody will even be able to tell that you've upgraded your lights. But you will when you're driving around because it is much brighter, and the width is there as well. The beam pattern is specifically designed to look better and keep you safer when you're driving your classic vehicle. If you actually use your vehicle at nighttime, you probably want to upgrade the lights. There's also a 5700 Kelvin color, 5700K or modern white. That is if you don't want that period correct look, but you want that classic bright white color with the lens that looks like you never changed it in the first place. The Holley RetroBrights do a really good job. This is the yellow lens version. This is a UV resistant polycarbonate lens. It's not a glass lens. It's the same as this one right here, except it's in yellow. Generally, the yellow light output will penetrate through the dust particles or the rain better than the white outputs. So that's something to note. If you want a light that will go further down the road during inclement weather, this might be your right option. A lot of people use these in a motorcycle because it's shallow right here. The depth of this housing is shallow, and generally on a motorcycle you don't have a lot of room. Sometimes you'll have to take an actual Dremel and try to Dremel out a hole in that bowl that was originally where your stock Sylvania headlight was, just to get the backside of these to fit. This one you don't have to. It is definitely much smaller, it's more compact. If you go on Amazon, you'll notice some of these 5 3/4 inch round headlights are super big, and they just simply won't fit on your car or especially your motorcycle. So this is a really good option for that. When you compare the Holley RetroBright 3000K, or that classic white color, you get this beam pattern. And when you compare it to your stock Sylvania lights, you can really see the difference in the light output. First things first, the Holley RetroBright has a more refined beam pattern, and it's much more wide. Sure, it's the same color as your original halogen lights, but it is much brighter than your original halogen lights. The lenses on the RetroBrights are optically designed to produce this beam pattern. It's not just scattering the light like a lot of aftermarket 5 3/4 inch round headlights go. This is what the 5700K Holley RetroBright looks like. Obviously, it's much more bright white, but you still get that same beam pattern. The same beam pattern as the 3000K. It's just a lot more white than the original. Now, when you have this bright white color, you do get a little bit more light output. The bright white color is much brighter than the 3000K color. So keep that in mind. If you just want the brightest and most usable light, this is where it's at. Now just note, if you did get the yellow lens version, it looks like this. The lens itself is yellow. Now you generally lose about 15 to 30% brightness converting from a white light output to a yellow light output. In this case, I saw about a 15% decrease in light output, so that's not that bad. It's still brighter than the 3000K Holley RetroBright color. But what if you just wanted to modernize the front of your vehicle and have good lighting? Then I would recommend the Morimoto Sealed6 lights. Here's your Morimoto Sealed6 light. As you can see, it's much more modern. It's got a more smoked tint to it when it's not on, but it's that bright white 5500K color. This right here is still shallow. You might not realize this, but this is probably the best option when it comes to your motorcycle that you could possibly get. Because this uses Phillips and Nichia chips in a sealed housing, they're able to pack this in together real good to give you a real shallow heat sink. This right here is the heat sink, and essentially what it does is dissipate the heat so it doesn't burn out over time, especially when you're running it for a long time. This heat sink does a really good job of cooling this light. This is what the light output looks like, and this is the cherry on top when it comes to this housing. Now, when you power up the Sealed6, you're going to notice the astronomically wide beam pattern. This right here is definitely going to help you see further into the ditches. This is what that LED projector was designed for, to give you a refined beam pattern. You'll notice on low beam, you've got that step in the middle. That's so you can raise these lights up enough without blinding oncoming traffic. The Sealed6 has the modern technology that you see in most aftermarket LED headlight housings. When you flip it to high beam, you see this incredibly long hot spot, but it is super intense, and it does place that light far down the road exactly where you need it. This is by far the best option when it comes to beam pattern you can possibly get out of a 6-inch round headlight. Believe me, I've seen a ton. Compared to that stock halogen lights, there really is truly no comparison. If you want something that looks a little bit modern, this is the way to go. So out of the Holley RetroBrights and the Morimoto Sealed6, what would I recommend for your vehicle? Well, it really depends on what kind of vehicle you have. If I had a classic BMW, I probably would end up going with this. It looks a little bit more modern, and it really does have a good beam pattern. If I wanted to put it on a real old classic truck like we've done in the past, for sure, the Holley RetroBrights. If you want to retain that period correct look, yes, absolutely. And you can go one step further in getting that 3000K color where it's a more warm white light. The features on this are pretty cool. They're much more advanced than the Holley RetroBrights. They've got a dual intensity DRL. You can see these two optical light pipes on the inside. You've got the low beam and high beam LED projectors. I don't know if you really would want more out of a headlight, especially when you don't have an intrusive install. When it's plug and play, this is where it's at. Now you could get this at headlightrevolution.com, same as the Holley RetroBrights, but we've also tested a bunch of other products that will work on your classic car or truck. Go there, type in your year, make, and model, and you'll see everything we've tested that we can actually recommend to our friends and customers.